Let me thank Clarence for this wonderful slogan. He was alert this summer when I was asking for them. Thank you. The USPS. We take it for granted every day of our lives, except Sundays and holidays, right? But we do, don't we? Sometimes we like to complain. But when you think about it, when you really think about it, how many of you have a mailbox and are ready to give it up? Did you mail something this past week? Did you get something in the mail this past? Do you intend to mail something next week, this coming week? We are so dependent on this service. Who do you trust for your communications? Your internet provider, when it's up and running, right? Who do you trust for your communications? Amazon trusts the United States Postal Service, just saying. Right? There's a reason. We deliver for you. Have you seen it on the trucks? Yeah, and so they do. You know why? Because it was established in Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution. Our National Postal Service is a constitutional provision. It's the only one like it, the only service in the Constitution. And it was partnered by George Washington very closely with freedom of the press and privacy, rights to privacy. Think about that. We need all three for democracy. How important is that? And so the USPS has been serving us for an awful long time. How much do you know about the United States Postal Service? Let's just see. Does anybody know where the first, this is before an official postal service, but do you know where the first official, established by a court, first official post mail drop site was established in what is now the United States? You can make a guess. Yes, good guess, Catherine. Probably on the East Coast. New York or Massachusetts? Massachusetts is right. If you wanted to receive a package from England, say, of tea maybe, right? You had to go to Boston. And you had to go to Richard Fairbanks Tavern in 1639. It was declared by a court of law that that was the official mail drop site. You had to get there or get someone else there to take it to you, right? All right, so as the revolution was starting, there was somebody who was serving as the British Crown's postmaster general for the colonies, and he got fired. But the colonists quickly rehired him as their own. Who do you think that was? The first postmaster general? You got it. First postmaster general. It was Benji. And he was fired because he was a little too radical for their taste, right? Of course he was. And you notice the date, it was before the actual Declaration of Independence that the colonists were pretty brazen. Got to give them credit. All right, let's see. What came first, envelopes or stamps? What do you think? How many say the envelopes? Okay, you chickens. How many say the stamps? Okay, a few more of you say the stamps. It was the envelopes. Can you imagine? Not until 1845 were there envelopes. You just handed them your letter and trusted it would get somewhere without somebody reading it. And they would handwrite on it before there were stamps, right? The postmaster would handwrite in the upper, I think, right-hand corner of it. That's why you left that part blank. Isn't that interesting? And adhesive stamps first showed up 2 years later in 1847. So not much later, but the envelopes beat the stamps. And then around the time of the gold rush, an upstart alternative that promised to get your letter from New York to San Francisco, what was it? Thank you, Californians, because I know you know. 10 days to San Francisco, can you imagine? And how long did this upstart alternative last? Who said 18 months? Ding, 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 ding. Ooh, Suze Maza. She got it. A whole 18 months. And what replaced it so quickly? Telegraph. It was the telegraph. Yep, put an end to that one. The railroad was actually the primary way mail was delivered. And do you know that the way they did it was the train never stopped? You threw the bag off and you caught it, right? Not my job. You couldn't pay me to do that. All right, let's see. So yes, the Pony Express. Now, in 1919, something was shipped that shocked the nation. Anybody know? It actually happened more than once, apparently, but not too many times, before they put a stop to it. What? Bricks? Bricks? A construction man would say that. Nope. Uh-oh. A child. An 8-month-old boy was sent by his parents to his grandparents. What a concept. Pay attention, parents. Can you imagine? An 8-month-old child. And apparently it happened a few times, but then they, of course, put an end to that. Let's see. Okay, where was the mail delivered primarily by dogs? Yes, this is a mail carrier from Alaska. And that did not end till 1963, which was the same year that zip codes began. Isn't that something? See, I didn't know zip codes were that late, because it's a zip code that makes you a place, isn't it? In this country, that's how important the mail is. You're nowhere unless you've got a zip code, right? Most popular commemorative stamp ever, right? But I love those stamps, don't you? I am always impressed on how a national agency like that seems to be in touch with the heart of the people. So many times, right? With those different commemorative stamps over the years. I'm always impressed with that. Now, what is the first motto you associate with the USPS? Come on, you know it. Neither snow, nor rain, nor heat, nor gloom of night stays these couriers from the swift completion of their rounds. Do you know where that can be found? Oh, where's Rudy when I need him? New York City, 8th Avenue Post Office in New York City. But do you know where those words come from? Ancient Greece. It's actually words that are written in an old text that talks about Persian couriers who ran by foot, right, to bring the news, messengers. That's where that comes from. You probably haven't heard this one, but I want you to hear it this morning. See, that's pretty good, right? They need to add flood to that list, right? Yeah, think about how cold that is. But listen to this. Oh, this is actually in the mission statement of the United States Postal Service, to bind the nation together through the correspondence of the people. I think that's powerful. How could we be a nation without being able to communicate with one another? Okay, now this is the one I want you to hear. And as you hear it, this is a beautiful poem that was written for the Postal Service. But I think we could imagine, for all but one line maybe, the Church of Christ. Messenger of sympathy and love, servant of parted friends, consoler of the lonely, bond of the scattered family, enlarger of the common life, carrier of news and knowledge. This is the one I would accept. Instrument of trade and industry, maybe so. There's a lot of commercialized Christianity now. Promoter of mutual acquaintance, of peace and goodwill among men and women and nations. Aren't those powerful words? U.S. Postal Service or the Church of Jesus? Our respect for the Postal Service is actually pretty great across this country. We take it for granted, but when we really stop to think about it, it's an essential service that depends, that our whole nation depends on. And our respect comes not only because it has authority and actually pretty broad powers in the Constitution. They can take your land to stick a post office there. But it's more than that, isn't it? You can have a mission statement, and that's necessary. But what is really important is the people who fulfill the mission, right? So our respect for the Postal Service is really about the fidelity, the trustworthiness. Gosh, we could go on and on with those kind of words, right? The reliability, the dependability. It all depends on a workforce that is committed to the mission, committed to each other, and committed to what it's for, its purpose. Can the church deliver that kind of fidelity? There's about 600,000 postal workers in this country, including our own Emosi Final, right? That's where our respect for this service lies, in the people, in the people. Well, we're the people of God, and the United Methodist mission is to make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. Do we deliver on that? Making disciples? Not lately. And we spent, I'm trying to remember how much it was that we first appropriated. I think it was $15 million for this ad campaign to convince people that we're nice folk and we are people with open hearts and open minds and open doors. Has that campaign delivered new disciples, new followers of Christ? Not so sure. Not so sure. And the mission of Christ's church is to deliver good news to the poor. I know Lecky is, but he's laid up right now. Do we deliver? Can we deliver good news to the poor in these days that have been so trying for so many people? There was a time when the church didn't think it would be able to. And it was the first church in the first century, pretty much the second, maybe third generation of Christians, because they were being persecuted horribly by Rome's emperors. People were being arrested, they were being executed, they were being banished, they were having their homes taken from them and their property. All kinds of horrible consequences for those who were caught being Christians, saying the name of Jesus had more power and authority than Caesar. It's appropriate for us on this Christ the King Sunday to remember what it cost people to proclaim that, or even to try to live it in their own lives. For some across the world, it's still happening, that kind of persecution. But for those first Christians, it was so hard that many were giving up their faith. Until a disciple named John, we don't really know who he was, but we know he was a prisoner on an island called Patmos. And John had a vision, meaning like a dream, a vision that people needed. And it was a vision of Jesus that God had promised he will come and wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain. One day, this would happen. And so his vision was of Jesus coming back, riding hard onto the spiritual battlefield against the powers of evil that were crushing God's children. Now, I know it's kind of hard for us modern progressive people to hear these very violent, militaristic kinds of language and imagery. But just for today, imagine what that meant to the people who were literally being slain by swords and soldiers for their faith. Imagine what it was like to hear that Jesus would come himself, riding a white horse with lightning in his eyes and a sword in his mouth. Yes, in his mouth, not his hand. Imagine what that meant to a people ready to give up. They were asking, where is all this violence that we're living going? Where is it all headed? Because we can't see a future. And John's vision assured them that when Jesus came, he would deliver. He would deliver fully on all God's promises in the end. And that's what they needed to hope and to endure. In that time and that age, the revelation, the unveiling of God's future told them God delivers on God's promises. So it leaves us with the question, because we have the banner now, the message is ours to deliver and the mission is ours to accomplish. Will we deliver? Open hearts, open minds, open doors. When visitors come, is that what we deliver? What we promised? We have two choices as I see it, Centennial. We can sit here and hope that we'll be really nice people when folks come to visit. We'll show them we have open hearts and open minds and open doors. Or we can do what the U.S. Postal Service does. We can go out there and deliver what people tell us they need. We can go out there and open hearts and open minds and open doors to the abundant life that God promises. Will we deliver? Think about that every time you see a mailbox this week. And remember that we use the mail to make gifts, to send gifts. We're able to do that for the people in Paradise who are waiting to hear good news, and the people in Yemen waiting to hear good news. And together as United Methodists, we make gifts because God gives first. We're able to. So I invite you as we receive our offering to remember those who are waiting for good news. Offer them good news.